Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? Gabriel Santos here. In today's video, I want to share with you guys how it's been going after quitting weed at the beginning of this year. I actually quit sometime at the very end of December, so it's been about a little over 2.5 weeks for me. But I just wanted to share with you guys what it's been like, some of the benefits, some of the changes that I've seen within myself, as well as some of the challenges, and maybe share with you guys, what have cravings been like? Have I felt tempted? Have I felt close to, smoking or using? And just overall give you guys a picture of what it's been like. And as a caveat for you guys, if you're watching this, I've gone a year without smoking weed before in 2019, and I've also gone a month off. Let's just call it, over the 15 years I've been using weed, I've gone 30 days weed free. Like, let's just call it at least 20 times. So, this is not like I was using 15 years every day, 5 times a day without ever stopping. So I've done some groundwork. I have some skills developed such that quitting isn't a doesn't feel like hell, like it does for some people who quit for their first time. And so everyone's experience is different. Just take the experience that I have into account. Right. So where to begin? As always, right? As always, it feels great. It feels great. In particular, it feels like my sense of happiness and my sense of contentment is real. Um, Whereas when I'm smoking weed all the time, or when I'm using weed in edible form, which is what it was most of 2025, um, it's ultimately just like false sense of happiness, right? And um, it's not really real, especially when I'm using it in this like dependent escapism way. And so that's one major thing that I've noticed, that I always notice anytime I stop using, is that I finally have a true sense of contentment and satiation in my life because I actually have to live it, and I actually have to be present in it. I have to face life, right? And there's a subtle psychological shift that happens, because essentially before, right, like what would I do? I would take an edible within a couple hours of the day, and I would take an edible before difficult things, even if they weren't that difficult, right? Like I would, for example, like I have a history of like social anxiety, and I would take weed so that I wouldn't have to deal with that social anxiety. And although that's, what's the big deal in that? There's this subtle psychological message I'm telling myself, which is like, oh, I'm not capable of handling the anxiety, and I don't believe in myself to navigate how difficult it is. Um, and so when I take weed out the picture and I'm forced to handle life and all of its different challenges, whether it's social anxiety, whether it's, basic chores and hygiene, or, more difficult things, whether it's work related or relationship related, just having, just removing weed from the picture and facing those things, it's a huge boost in self-esteem and self-respect and sense of confidence. And if anything, something I always forget is just how like bogged down I really get when I'm using weed every day, multiple times a day. So there's that. Um, some other shifts I've noticed is just like less anxious. Another way to put that is like I feel more emotionally resilient. I feel more connected to my body. I feel more connected to my sense of self. And overall, I just feel more like myself. And it's like, man, why would I do this to myself? I think many of you guys can relate. Anytime you've taken a break, or the clouds parted and you're like, wow, why would I ever go back? Um, So that feels good. My energy is way up. Um, um, some of the challenges now. Let's get to some of the challenges. Yeah, like my energy is so up. Sometimes it's hard to like calm down. That's one thing. Um, in particular, today, we're 2.5 weeks or so in. I like felt like off, and I felt like almost depleted and exhausted. I'm sure part of that has to do with, because my energy has been so up with Weed Out the Picture, I've been doing like this, that. Every day is like jam packed with things on top of things on top of things, which is like a complete flip from what it was before, right? Like, what was it before for me? It was like, I'll get to things when I get to them. Like, I'm gonna let the dishes sit. I'm gonna not clean my room. I'm gonna not call that person back. I'm not gonna not gonna reply to that email. I'm not gonna do this, that, and the other. It was like very, very, very bare minimum. And with Weed Out the Picture, it's like, not only am I aware of all the things that need to be addressed, I actually want to address them. And because in a lot of ways, and this is actually a positive thing, this is actually a benefit, is I have no other way to get my kicks in life except for actually living it. Right? And what I mean by that is when weed is in the picture, it's easy to just avoid everything and push everything to the next day and just like, I'm just going to get high today and just whatever. Um, whereas with Weed Out the Picture, it's like, all right, well, what actually makes me feel good is taking care of things. And in fact, like that's how our brains are built. It's like our brains are built to have natural motivation to grow and to be better and to take care of ourselves and to fix problems and to create more satisfaction in our lives through handling the issues and stresses in our life, right? And so anyways, back to one of the challenges, right? So like I'm go 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 go, which is the opposite of avoid avoid avoid. And finally, for example, yesterday I didn't post a video, and I could feel myself looking for rest. I can feel myself looking for some type of pick me up, some type of a treat or a reward, and that is part of life. Part of life is treats. Part of life is reward, and but again, one of the benefits is I have the mental capacity and bandwidth, and the integrity, the sense of integrity to figure out, all right, what type of treats would be in alignment, right? Obviously, weed wouldn't be in alignment. I thought about maybe, getting some DoorDash, and although that would have been fine, I already don't feel great about how expensive delivery is. And so I ultimately end up just like, I had some food in the freezer, some more like junky type food. It was like this hot, spicy chicken sandwich deal. And so like I had that, and then I decided today, like I'm gonna slow it down today. Instead of being in go, 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 go mode, I'm gonna like, I took a couple naps. I'm like consciously choosing to be in like low power mode, um, which I think is a challenge for a lot of people in general, but especially if you're someone who's used to turning to marijuana to like force yourself into like low power mode. Um, so that's some of the challenges, but by and large, it's been great. Um, Now, in terms of cravings, I haven't experienced any cravings that are like debilitating, right? Where like I feel like I'm actually close to, using. If anything, what it's been like is just old remnant thoughts, right? One common one would be like for example, right? Yesterday, um, I just the automatic thought and fantasy of like using weed came to mind, and at first I was like, we're not even going to consider like letting this fantasy play out, but I decided to, just for the sake of being present with it, to just like, there's a saying in the like substance addiction dependency world where it's like, okay, let the tape play out, right? And the reality is, if I let the tape play out, I would use it. I would like, obviously there would be some enjoyable moments, but then there would also be this reality of like, it wouldn't even be that satisfying. And then I would feel this horrible like sense of breaking my own word and breaking my own integrity. And then I would feel absolutely ridiculous coming back on this channel, having just posted I'm quitting for 2026, only to explain to you guys that, I broke my word and there goes that, right? But, so I let that play out, but for the most part, it's been fine. And any cravings I would ever really get are just like in their early stages of like early thoughts of like, oh my gosh, what if we did? But nothing to the point where I'm legitimately battling myself. If I'm being honest, there will most likely be some time months down the road where it will be more challenging, right? Because I'm sure some of you can relate to this where you'll go a month off, you might even go 3 months off, and that's a gigantic win. And your life has clearly been going great as a result of it. And then this romanticizing idea will begin to happen of like, well, what if I just do it one time? And, clearly I've shown responsibility, and what's the big deal, right? That's kind of one of the dangerous ones, right? What's the big deal? And so if and when that time comes, you guys will most certainly know. I will make a video if ever I'm that deep in the trenches of a craving. But hopefully it never gets to that point. But by and large, it's been good, man. It's been good, and I think at this stage, one of my favorite parts of this journey, right, having quit for the year and essentially indefinitely, is I'm forced to get to know sides of myself, and grow certain sides of myself that I haven't been able to, right? Because weed was always the thing that I turned to deal with that, right? For example, again, that story I just shared with you guys. Today I felt like exhausted and depleted, and I need some space. I need some rest. I need some nourishing. I need some nurturing. And this is an opportunity for me to not only become aware that that's what my needs are in this moment, but to discover, all right, what is my solution, right? What can I try? And ultimately, it's this beautiful process of getting to know myself and getting to figure out how to meet my needs in ways that actually meet my integrity and actually align with my values and actually allow me that actually sustain me, right? As opposed to when it was always marijuana that I turned to, it was like, okay, great, I get the deep rest, I get the space, but then ultimately my energy goes like this afterwards. And then all the different facets of my life begin to go down because I just want to keep using, right? And it's like, in a lot of ways, it's like taking the training wheels off, right? So it's like, all right, I got to really learn how to deal with myself and satisfy all my different needs in life in other ways, more healthy, sustainable ways. And it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. And yeah, so ultimately it's been good. And I appreciate everyone's support. Sometimes when I make videos on this channel, I sincerely question whether any of it is worth any time at all. My goal, right, in addition to just helping and serving you guys, is to somehow or another create a thriving business from it. And it's tough because, at the end of the day, I just want to help you guys. But also, I do want to make a living off of it one day. And I know that that's going to take time. I know that, it's not an overnight thing. But ultimately, my point is I appreciate everyone's support. Just this morning, I had checked some of the recent stats on the videos, and it always feels cool when, a video has quote unquote blown up, and in this case, blowing up in this channel would be like, instead of 50 views, it's 250 views, right? And, you know, um, so yeah, it feels good. It feels good. And I look forward to continuing to walk this path, to create more videos, to be more of service, and to ultimately help you guys and support you guys in your journey. And hopefully, not just with weed stuff, but with just mental health in general, how to have mastery over our emotions, over our inner world, as well as our outer world. But anyways, that's it for today. Thank you again, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.